Welcome back to Midnight Movie Club in our first video of 2022. Today we will be exploring the Backrooms found footage. 4 days ago, Kane Pixels posted a new video titled The Backrooms Found Footage. Luckily, it was recommended to me as I went about my daily YouTube checks. I shit you not, I think this is my favourite horror short on the internet. And don't worry, we'll get into why. But first, what are the Backrooms? The Backrooms are a realm that one can find themselves trapped in if they are unfortunate enough to no-clip out of our reality and into this other mysterious plane. It's a labyrinth of strangely segmented rooms, halls and long corridors. There are also different levels to the Backrooms, with each level having its own distinct decor and dangers. The Backrooms originated back in 2019 with a post on 4chan of an unsettling, dingy office building. There is just something slightly off about the photo, with its magnolia walls, carpet, ceiling panels and its beaming fluorescent lights. At first the 4chan thread was just this photo and the description promoting others to post pictures of disquieting images that just feel off. Before long the thread took off with more and more pictures of wide open rooms of various buildings before spawning a series of creepypasta-like stories about these locations. These locations were soon to be known as the Backrooms. The Backrooms saw a boom after its humble beginnings in 2019 and through into 2020 before tailing off a little, but with people being locked indoors the past couple of years and TikTok growing in popularity, it spiked once again for quite some time, with many people posting shorts on there claiming to be in the Backrooms. Then once more the Backrooms has tapered off slightly, until now, with this brand new horror short, The Backrooms Found Footage. It once again has piqued my interest into the Backrooms and I'm keen to get lost in this mysterious and dangerous labyrinth once more. Now that we know what the Backrooms are, let's move on to the Backrooms Found Footage, a brand new horror short from Kane Pixels. Link to the short will be in the description. I highly recommend checking out Kane's work. It is fantastic. So go watch it, then come back to this, or if you don't mind spoilers, watch this, then go watch it. Either way, you better go bloody watch it. The Backrooms Found Footage opens with some teenagers making what seems like their own short or student film. Right away the unsettling vibe is set, with the way this character is crawling his way along a container with a crude gorilla mask on. The director then asks our protagonist, the cameraman, to move back and get a wide shot so they can finish up for the day. The camera operator agrees, moving back until boom, he no-clips from our reality into the Backrooms. Now this is where the real fun begins. Here we can see he has entered level 0, also known as the lobby. This is where most people no-clip to the first time they end up in the Backrooms. This is where he wanders at first confused for a while, searching for his crewmates and a way out. Eventually in the maze of Magnolia, he comes across arrows and some scratchings on the walls, no doubt left by those gone before him who were driven mad by the hum of the lights and the endless rooms. We then see "Stay Still" written on the wall underneath a sketchy looking face, which is exactly what our protagonist doesn't do when faced with an entity for the first time on this level. Now usually there are pretty much no entities that you'll come across on level 0, at least encounters with them appear to be super rare, but for the sake of the short and our character, he has to encounter something to make it interesting. He encounters one of them and it's bloody terrifying. The sounds this creature makes are like chairs being scraped across porcelain floors as we hear it thumping down towards the poor lost soul. The sound design is something that really stuck out to me throughout the whole shot. There is always something unsettling about it, whether it's the static of the camera, the buzzing of the lights, the silence as our cameraman pants and questions his newfound reality. It all just works. I think the camera and style the shot is presented in lends itself well to the Backrooms as well, with the static always managing to fill the screen when we are really for the most part looking at empty spaces. The aspect ratio too does a great job of enhancing the claustrophobia, so even in these wide open rooms and halls, danger always feels close. The camera work in general is brilliantly done, with it being smooth when it needs to be and erratic when it should be. It somehow always feels natural. Sometimes in found footage films you find yourself questioning why someone would point a camera somewhere during a traumatic situation, but not here. Every pan, jerk and zoom is justified. The unpredictable nature of the camera too lends a hand to this unsettling atmosphere with its janky zooms and scratching zoom noises in and out, the VHS field just amplifying the immense dread and cosmic darkness of the Backrooms. Now, as far as it goes for the entity encountered here, it seems like a mix of a howler and a smiler, maybe a wretch or something like that, with its howls ringing out and how it stalks our main character from the shadows to begin with. Although the entity does break some of the rules those entities are known for, I think it's just for a convenient mix of a few, which is best for the short film. The entity itself looks great, but we will get onto the entity a little bit more later and what I actually think it might be. I don't want it to take up too much time here, as we'll just progress on with what actually happens. As the chase continues, when we see this huge room that looks like a room of mirrors before our character, he finds a hole in the floor and decides to drop down in it, thus evading the entity on level 0 for now. Here it looks like he may have entered a level 1, mind you the whole shot seems like a mishmash of levels 0, 1 and 2 as we see characteristics of each throughout. The beauty of it is that even though we know a lot about the Backrooms from the wiki now and how fleshed out the lore has become, at the end of the day the Backrooms make their own rules, and here Parsons is doing his own interpretation, and I think it's easily the best representation of the Backrooms to date. The fact this has been created off still images is just absolutely mind-blowing. So whatever level we are on right now, it gives us my favourite part of this shot, where level 188 is revealed to us. Level 188 is this enclosed apartment complex in one of the most infamous levels of the Backrooms. I remember seeing this image a couple of years ago and it just brought out a primal unsettling fear. I still have no idea why. It seems vaguely familiar but deeply ominous at the same time. I'm not sure if it's the hexagon looking courtyard, the perfectly spaced windows, or the ceiling where a night sky should be. Something just isn't right. So in the lore apparently, this is the entrance to level 188, and if you climb through this window you'll end up there. The entrance to 188 is rarely found on level 0, but does happen, and it's also found at the hub, which is something we can get to soon. I really love that Parsons called back to all these old levels like this one, inserting a nice wee bit of fan service here and there. It's a lovely touch. It's truly amazing how they've brought these still images and liminal spaces to life. The performance from the cameraman is great as well here and throughout the shot. His confused, shocked and terrified reactions are so realistic and well delivered, not sounding corny one bit. Next we come across what looks like a dumpster and some rope. Now there are known to be boxes in the Backrooms, usually found on level 1 if I remember correctly, that basically give you random items. It could be something super helpful or something really ridiculous you just don't know, so who knows what this dumpster box here was holding. It's that fear of the unknown that truly seeps into your soul while experiencing Backrooms. Now here is where things get super interesting, as we come across what I believe is meant to be the hub. The hub in the Backrooms lore is a massive tunnel that holds many entrances to loads of different levels, and I believe that is what we are looking at here. If the character was to jump and make it onto any one of these, then he could enter a new level, and here we see the endless scope of the Backrooms and how many different levels there really are. The mechanical clanks and the low rumbles we hear also just add to the mystery of what's going on and what lurks out there in the boundless abyss of this realm. It's almost man-made sounds in the distance, you know, like machinery and construction, and it's like if someone's really out there constructing this, what is the purpose and why would they do this to people? It's just all very, very intriguing. Anyway, after some time being in awe and shock of the hub, our main character wanders aimlessly through more corridors some time later. Who knows how long he has spent in the Backrooms at this point. He finally comes across what looks like a fire exit, which brings him to a set of stairs. Once he makes his way up and opens the next door, we are then right back where we started, with level 0, the lobby. Which means whatever level he was on, he must have no-clipped back once again. This seems like it would be rather unfortunate and rather rare, but we don't know how much time he's really spent down there wandering around trying doors, so maybe that door was the exact door he needed to no-clip. It's now that we hear almost defeat in his voice as we are no further to escape and right back where that entity was that chased him at the start. And I really love that the camera movement here changes from the character. Here, you know, he's much more timid and safe, hugging walls and corridors, now that he knows that something lurks around him. I honestly think that this is the most unnerving level. Now, in Backrooms lore, there's definitely far more terrifying levels, but there's just something about that infamous level 0, and here it really does creep me out. The shot here, there are just so many corners anything could come from. Your head would need to be on a swivel at all times. You're never safe, and something this shot does well, especially in the aspect ratio it uses, is find that dead space and exploit it to raise your uneasiness. Just watching this character walk through these rooms activates your fight or flight response, then couple that with the message of stay still and you're in a world of confusion and terror on how to deal with this nightmarish place. The methodical build up to the next jump scare and chase is also expertly crafted. So many big budget horrors these days can't do a jump scare to body save themselves, but here we have the slow turn around the corner, the camera glitch, the pause in the character as he senses something, a shuffle in the distance, silence and stillness, but just for a split second, then snap. The shade is flung against the wall, and that's all it took to make the hairs stand on the back of my neck. I mean, we knew the scare was coming. Horror fans have learned over the years to read scenes and how these things go. Most movies think that ramping up the music, hitting us with a loud noise is enough, or faking a loud noise then having the real scare a second later is even smarter. But it's not. We've grown accustomed to it. It's embracing that stillness, the calmness, and the acceptance that something is going to happen that is not good, and then it does. And it does in a world with diegetic sound and tangible consequences within the narrative, and without seeing the entity again, we know what this means. It's found him, and we are under chase once more. Now, we have reached the climax. After running for an undefined amount of time, we hear the howls of the entity in the background ring out as the camera lad finds a small nook in one of the walls. Here he makes a fatal mistake though. He goes into the dark. In established Backrooms lore over on the wiki, there are quite a few entities that lurk in the dark, and some of them actually have to stay in the dark. While the entity we see in this short doesn't seem to mind the light, it was shown lurking in the dark earlier. Remember when he was panning around real quick, you would just see a glimpse of it before it disappeared round the corner again in those really creepy quick pan shots. Therefore, this entity might be attracted to the darker areas of this level, which seems to me like level 0. Not long after our protagonist takes refuge here, the entity is close, real close. When then we get a right good look at it through the narrow gap, as it looks like some sort of disfigured stickman made out of crutches. And look, I'm still up in the air on what this entity actually is, and my final conclusion is that it's a new one established by Parsons in his own new canon lore for this series. If not, then I wonder if it's a skin stealer without any skin, and this is what it looks like underneath. By the way it moans, it sounds like a howler. It could also even be a wretch, and all these creatures can be found on this level. However, it is rare, but this character, as we see over and over, is super unlucky. But for me, I think it is an amalgamation of all these kind of entities from the Backrooms lore, and it's just original for this short and for the world Parsons is building. It seems like he's using maybe the wiki lore as a framework, but not limiting himself to that, which I am a fan of, as I love his interpretation of the Backrooms. As we move on, the cameraman comes up to another hole in the ground, possibly leading back to yet another level, but before he can build the courage to jump, we hear a whimper behind him. It's the entity, and it's over. The entity grabs him and the camera falls. As the camera is falling, we see it begin to pull him apart before the camera no-clips through the wall and back into our reality. The camera has some glitches, lands, and the short ends. And as soon as that happened, I hit replay and watched the whole thing another 10 times. To me, seeing that entity, the way it looked to split him in half, lends it to being a skin stealer, as that is something they are known for. But for right now, I think this is Parsons' world and we're all just wandering in it. The short, in short, was fantastic. One of the best I've ever seen on the internet. The atmosphere, the camera work, the effects, the sound design, all of it top notch, delivering more tension and scares than most big horrors these days. So honestly, hats off to Parsons and his team for what they've created here. So where does this leave us? Well, there have been 2 more shorts since the Backrooms found footage dropped over on Parsons' channel, and you know, they're just fleshing out the world and maybe even researchers of the Backrooms. Meg, I hear you say? But that is for another video. If you made it this far, thank you, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to join the club. I'll be covering this series a lot more with each new part, breaking it down, analysing and theorising about it, and I cannot wait to get into it even more with you all. So if you enjoyed this video, please do leave it a like, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you all very much for your time, and good night.